And I just want to introduce Cheryle Renwick for RTC, her company RTC, Reliance Telecom Consulting, and she is what I commonly refer to my customers, my cell phone consultant lady. So she's helped me out in the past, and she's just going to do a little information about her company and what she could maybe do for you guys. And I really feel if you have a cell phone, and who doesn't these days, that it's a necessity that you talk to somebody like Cheryle to save you as much money as possible. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Cheryle.
Awesome. I'm just waiting for the presentation to come up.
There, is it there now?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cheryle Renwick from Reliance Telecom Consulting. I have the pleasure and the honor of presenting today. So I would like to first thank everyone for joining the webinar this morning, and I would like to thank Kent from FBC for inviting me to present. My team helps businesses save money on their phone bills by finding and resolving billing errors and negotiating your monthly rates. So with that, we'll get started. Currently, the RTC team has about 14 members. We have over 50 years of combined industry experience. The owner, which is me, has been consulting for companies like yours since 2008. Prior to consulting, I worked on the other side, negotiating contracts for companies all across Canada. Overall, the RTC team offers objective solutions for your company. Some of our services include the analysis of your usage. This is important to discover billing errors. If you have a large company, if you have employees with any misuse or abuse. Through the analysis process, we also are able to discover any trends in your airtime requirements, long distance, texting, all things that are encompassed in how you use your phone. We are responsible completely for all the negotiations and the implementation of any new pricing information. We are knowledgeable and have handled company mergers, transfers of ownership. We also look at international business requirements, where it may be adding travel passes for your vacation or business trip, or I also have clients that have international offices. We also have services for monthly monitoring. This is for companies that need help on a monthly basis with their phone bills, whether it's with changes in trends of usage, managing staff, whether it's new staff coming on that need new phones and new rates, or staff that's leaving. So we also provide ongoing support for all those areas. So some numbers and facts. In 2010, our average savings was 45%, same as 2011. Our contractual savings for 2011 was over $464,000. That does not include the money back for clients for billing errors or restitution, which came to over $145,000. This is an example of one of my clients' invoices prior to the negotiations and billing errors being resolved. I have to block out their name and their account number because all of our information is confidential. But certainly for this client, the monthly billing was about $1,400 a month. There are some pain points you can see with long distance charges and things like that. This is a specific phone number from that same invoice. Their plan is high, their long distance is high. It's not good. So we're looking at, there's about $300 worth just about here of monthly charges. So post negotiations, we've got a much lower invoice, and on this invoice some of this long distance and airtime charges were also credited back. There was some billing errors still going on there. It was $119 that I got credited back. On this invoice as well, there's an additional 2 lines from pre-negotiations. So a huge difference there. That same phone number that we saw 2 pages ago that now has a $36 plan. The long distance is included. He's using the phone more for texting and data, and there's quite a bit more free value-added services. So if you'd like to look at your own phone bills and want to know where to start for negotiations or speaking with your carrier, you need to know what your usage requirements are. You need to know that how much airtime, long distance, texting, data, what you need to know all that items. It's very easy when you call in for your carrier to offer you something as a solution, but perhaps it doesn't include enough airtime or things like that, so you have to be careful. You also have to know what the competition is offering to be able to speak to current pricing that's available in the market. Knowing where you are in your current contract is also important. Is there any leverage there that you can speak with your carrier about? It's also very important to document who you're speaking with and what the pricing offer is. So when it gets implemented, if there's errors, you need to know that who you spoke with, that what they offered. So for example, and I'm sure this has happened to many of you if you've ever called in for changes in things, you can say, well, I was supposed to get this, and the representative will say, well, who did you talk to? And you know, they kind of have you over a barrel in that situation if you can't prove what was offered. You need to follow up to ensure that the new rates that you get are implemented correctly. Oftentimes it's just a human being on the other end that's implementing the changes, and they make mistakes. It's the same as me or you. I would say overall not to rely on your store or your independent dealer to get your pricing. They don't have all the tools and pricing information that's available in correlation to the representatives that you speak to on the phone. I found this survey. Many people ask me in conversation, well, who's the best carrier to look for? This survey was information compiled over the last 2 years from Consumer Canada, and truly it follows what I believe as well. No one is truly happy with their carrier. The black is the worst, and you can see that it's nobody's nobody's completely satisfied. So what I look at is, for my clients, who are they with? What are the pain points? Is it worth switching or not? Most oftentimes it's not completely worth switching carriers. Pricing should be able to be negotiated with the various carriers to be similar no matter who you're with. That being said, if you're just completely unhappy with your current carrier and want to switch, then certainly those are options that my team investigates for you as well. So some tidbits. I would say at least 80% of the business invoices that I look at have billing errors that I get money back from my clients. For the bigger group, business members, to know that being a corporate client with your carrier sounds good, but oftentimes it does not have the best pricing available. So just be careful what you're asking for when you call in. There's always a chance that you can get out of a contract for many different reasons, and I would say not only in the cellular or landline market, in other areas as well, almost everything is negotiable. Overall, I'd like to say that the RTC team offers our clients objective solutions and peace of mind. And if anyone has any questions, I would love to speak to them.
Okay, I just got to unmute everybody because I was getting some feedback there for a bit. So, Okay, well, thanks for the presentation, Cheryle, and I know there's got to be some questions from guys, so if you want to ask some questions, go ahead if you're on the line or using a speaker system, or type it into the box, or text it to me.
Perhaps while everybody's thinking of their questions, I can say that if you're looking at your phone bill, if you have a business account, you should not be paying that licensing fee anymore. With TELUS, it was the $6.95 and another fee of 75 cents to come to $7.70. Bell had the same licensing fees. Rogers did as well. Rogers is the only company now that still have those fees, but they're at a lesser rate of $2 and change. So if you're looking at your bill and you still see a licensing fee on there, you know that your pricing is outdated and there's something better for you.
Okay, well, I got a couple questions here that from people I've been talking to in the last couple of days, Cheryle. And I know one of your slides kind of went over it. I'm just going to go right up to the beginning of here so your information's on the screen. Jeepers, are you getting that feedback on your line too, or is that just me?
No, I sure am. It's yeah.
Sounds like Darth Vader is going to the bathroom or something. Anyways, I had to mute a couple of you because I think I narrowed it down to whose computer's doing that. So you'll just have to text the question to me or type it in the box below under the chat. So, but first question I got was, if I'm going to start paying for my hired man's cell phone bill, how can I monitor, or I guess, be assured that he isn't going to abuse his newfound power kind of thing, right?
That's the thing, and it's very common with any company. There's a risk and a reward ratio there that you have to weigh out and what's going to work for you. There are many companies that just give their staff an allowance and they have their own cell phone bills. Most cases, I would have to say that the allowance or the monies given in that scenario are often very high in comparison to what you could get if you had their phone on your own account. That being said, if you have someone new or that likes to do different things on their phone that are not business related, you're at risk to being financially responsible for those items. So each scenario, I would say, in each company is different. And overall, I would highly recommend an employee cell phone agreement if you would like to take on any staff or team members' phone bills for savings.
Oh, interesting. And do you have any kind of those agreements that a person could just copy and change the names on? Or?
Yeah, and I certainly do. The employee cell phone agreement that I use has been used for smaller clients, businesses that maybe only have a few cell phones, up to enterprise clients that have over 1,000 team members. So it's a solid agreement, and certainly you can contact me for something like that, or just having a written agreement to outline to say this is a work phone. You have enough minutes in long distance for business purposes. Outside of that, should excessive charges incur, it's your responsibility and your payroll can be deducted.
Right. So
it gives you the power that the legal authority to deduct wages should they sign up for some premium third-party message services or things like that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it also would, I guess, that's the con side of things, is if everything goes bad. But I see the good parts of it with maybe, everybody on the farm having, say, a smartphone and being able to use messaging services and using data, because that's cheaper overall than texting, so.
Right. There's so many, with the smartphones that are available now, there's so many tools that can be available to help your business, regardless what industry you're in. I would say if it's more seasonal for hired men services, I'm not sure it would be worth signing on a permanent unit on your account.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if it's you just need someone for a few months out of the year, it wouldn't make sense for you to pay for a phone bill for 12 months.
No, exactly. But yeah, and the question was from a person who has 2 hired men, and he was looking at it more of he isn't currently paying the bill, but maybe instead of a raise in wages, that's something he can come to them with, and because he's finding maybe they're being short on the phone or whatever because they're the ones paying the bills, and that's after tax dollars that they're using, right?
Well, right, and absolutely. And if your hired man is saying, okay, well, my phone bill during harvest is over $200, I want you to pay for that. Well, that's very excessive.
Right.
Right. So that's where the risk reward. It's not worth. Yeah, everybody's different too, right? In what their situations or services are.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now a couple questions that I've had typed in here is one's from Alan. What is the implication of broadband width being bought by service providers?
I'm not really sure what your question is, Alan. Like in reference to pricing, or can you speak to the? Oh, you have him on mute.
Well, I was getting feedback from his. I think it's the microphone's routing right into the speakers. So, well, I'll let him type it in maybe to clarify his question, and I'll go to Craig.
And I'll clarify maybe what I do too. My team, our expertise is with your phone bills.
Right.
Not necessarily equipment. Everybody's equipment needs, whether it be like land-based internet versus this smartphone or this cell phone. Everybody's needs are different, and what works for one company is certainly not going to work for another. Our goal really is to look at your bills, your phone bills, and say what is the best solution for you.
Okay, and this next question is, and I'm gonna before you get to answer it, I'm gonna give my example personally, but it's a good question. How do you charge for your services? And this is my example, is how I ran into Cheryle basically 2 years ago now. She went all the way back to harvest of that previous year, so that would have been of '09, and got me about $200 back from TELUS, because my harvest bill, I was moping along paying $135 a month to TELUS, and then at harvest my bill would jump up to $350 because, as you guys know, I'm always on the phone. We're using 3,000 minutes in a month. And what Cheryle was able to get back to me was basically she went back in my bills 12 months back, lowered my monthly bill from 135 to 82, and then got me money back that harvest because there were certain things that should have been paid for on my account that they were charging me, or should have been free, I guess, that they were charging me for. And whether it be TELUS, the TELUS calling, which features I had. And a lot of that savings did come, I think it was $17 came in freebies. But nonetheless, skip forward to going through 2 years later, this harvest I went through my records, and my cell phone bill did jump up from 82 to 105. So that's a big difference from 135 to over 300. But my minutes were actually more. So she looks at your situation. It's almost like what my business does. Not every situation fits every farm, but she'll look at your bills for your company and see where she could save you money, or if she can't, and she's very honest to say, yes, I can, or no, I can't. So now I'll let you answer the question, Cheryle. How do you charge for your services?
Thanks. My team bills 40% of the first year savings, so it's money that you're paying to your carrier anyway. The 40% is cut into 2 separate invoices. The first half is billed to you or your company when the negotiations are completed, and the second half is due once you have the bill that says, yeah, Cheryle was right, the savings are there and the bill is what she said it would be. How numbers work like that, it takes by your 4th invoice is where you would have me paid off and then start realizing the savings month after month, year after year.
And then another question I just had, when is the best time to negotiate? Like when your contract is up or when it's coming due?
Right. You can negotiate technically at any time. However, towards the beginning of my presentation, definitely contracts and where you are in your current contracts come into play. If you have just signed a new 3-year agreement with your carrier because you got a new phone, you don't have much negotiating power in comparison if you're at the end of your agreement. Can you still get the same pricing though? Maybe. It depends upon the company and what size you are, how many lines you have. It's can get quite complicated, to be honest with you. If you have 2 lines on a consumer account, you speak to someone totally different whereas if you had 6 lines on a business account. And the pricing is different in those scenarios too.
Right. Okay, and well, another question I just had texted to me is when you look at our monthly bills, what is the main thing you are looking at?
Actually, we look at everything. If I'm first meeting someone for the very first time and looking at their invoice with them for the very first time, I first look to where if there's any overage charges and if there's any pain points with regards to that. So whether it be airtime, long distance, texting, or data, it doesn't matter. But so first, what are the pain points? And then I go to how do you want to be using your phone? Are you getting what you need out of it now? So for example, are you trying not to use your phone because you're worried about airtime? Do you need more airtime? So and try to work that way.
Right.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. It's
I'm not sure.
Well, it's one of those things is you have all the experience in the world, so I can look at a corn chart and I know exactly what I'm looking for, right?
Exactly.
You can look at a TELUS bill and you hear a Rogers bill and you know what you're looking out, and if something stands out, that's where you know right away you can make some savings, right? And I guess another thing I want to point out too is, I mean, we have people on this webinar from 30 miles south of Red Deer, Cheryl's in Cochrane, I assume. Well, I don't know for sure, but that's where you're located out of.
Yep.
I have a couple of guys from around Penhold. There's actually one guy I know is down in the States on this webinar, and I'm sitting in my basement in Red Deer. So Cheryl and I have never met. This isn't something that she has to make an appointment to sit down with you. Most businesses, just like farming, are 24/7, and when Cheryl and I did all our stuff, it was through email and scanning and talking over the telephone, and she just went back in my 12 months of cell phone bills and said what she could do for me. So this isn't something that you have to make special time to sit down for an appointment with somebody. I know Cheryl can do it all over email and such. So that's why I've got your information up there as well for your website, your email, and your phone number. So, and of course I can always be contacted if you need that information as well. So
Absolutely. Alan, did you have a question around your question? Because I don't think I answered what you were looking for there.
I just unmuted you, Alan, so we'll Oh, there's been no reply from him, so
okay.
I think he may have been getting maybe past what your expertise is about, you know, carriers buying up broadband width. I know what he's talking about because I've read about it in the news, and it's basically they want to, let's say TELUS buys up most of the broadband width around Red Deer, then it's more difficult for Rogers or Bell or any other service provider to have smartphones on those towers, right?
Well, and I'd have to disagree with that just a little bit, because all the carriers, they have roaming agreements with each other, and they're pretty strong, or else you wouldn't be able to use your phone outside of your area. So I think really the implication there we would never see. The implication would be more with the carriers in their own personal or inter-company roaming agreements.
Right. Okay, with that, that's... Oh, sorry, Cheryl.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'll give you the last word, and then we'll end the webinar because there's no more questions coming in, and I know you answered everything that I had, so...
I am going to be out of the country from January 30th to February 10th. I do have my team members available while I'm away. However, if you'd like something to be looked at urgently, you'd have to let me know soon. Alternatively, feel free to give me a call or send me an email after the 10th.
Okay, that's great. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be done before January 30th. It's just food for thought. If I keep doing webinars on marketing, people are going to get bored. So this is this is great, and I know you've already helped a couple other of my customers that have talked to me about your services, and those two have both been happy. So anybody watching this video, if you want those guys as a reference, then I can easily pass them on. But I'm enough of a reference, I feel. So, and thanks for
thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and thanks for taking the time for doing this presentation, Cheryl. And hopefully you can help some of my customers with your business.
My pleasure. Yeah, if anybody would just even like a second opinion, please don't hesitate to contact us.
Okay, well, thank you, and